noticed that you were talking about the departure of our campaign manager,
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Kucinich. I'm sad. I'm really sad about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love Dennis. A lot of respect for Dennis, and I know that Bobby does too. And you know, there's a lot of speculation as to why he left. And you know, part of it, I don't know. I can't really speak for Dennis, and I'm not going to try to. But there were some in the campaign, as much as we love him, who questioned whether or not he was up for the rigors of running a presidential campaign. I mean, it's tough on somebody half his age, and Dennis is 77, I believe. That's really, really a big ask of someone who's that age. Also, there is the fact that Dennis has been a lifelong Democrat. You know, he's never left the Democratic Party, even when they done him dirty time and time again. I mean, they screwed him twice when he ran for president in 2004, 2008. He was kind of the Bernie Sanders of his time. And yet, even after all they did to Dennis, he remained loyal to the Democratic Party.
So, do you think that his decision to run as an independent kind of was one of the reasons why you think Kucinich was against that?
I don't know. Um, it's interesting the timing of it. Certainly, I mean, the same week that Bobby announces he's running independent, that Dennis suddenly leaves the campaign. Um, it's hard to say because Dennis gave that rousing speech on Monday. You know, after Bobby's
Yep.
speech, and Dennis came out on stage with, I declare my independence. That was Dennis.
Right.
So I thought, oh, okay, well, I guess Dennis is also breaking ties finally with the Democratic Party. And then he stuns us all by leaving the campaign just a few days later. But
So, where do you
something,
think this leaves RFK Jr.? He'll
I
carry
don't
on.
know. We're going to carry on. We're going to try our damnedest to win this thing.
Yeah.
Um, and we have a new campaign manager. Actually, she's not new. She's been co-managing the campaign with Dennis since the beginning. It's Bobby's daughter-in-law, Amaryllis Fox-Kennedy. She's married to his eldest son, I believe, Robert Kennedy III. And you might have noticed, I heard you reading the press release earlier about her background.
Uh huh.
And I thought it was interesting how the press release that the campaign put out failed to mention that she worked for the CIA as a case officer for many years.
They, I'll see if I can find it here again. But how did they phrase
It
that?
was an interesting way of saying that. Yeah, it was like she didn't exactly work for the CIA, but yeah, she did work for the CIA. They just didn't want to put that in the press release
Yeah,
because they
she.
knew obviously that might not be well received. And Bobby's the candidate who's out there talking about how the CIA murdered his uncle.
She has a master's degree in international security from Georgetown University School of Foreign Science. She spent a decade working on counterproliferation efforts on behalf of the United States government.
In other
Oh,
words,
what could that possibly? That's just benign. It
hmm,
doesn't. It's just.
no,
That's
that's the
just. That's
CIA.
like having a job at 7-Eleven. It's it's like the person who kind of stands at the door to make sure that the shoplifters are intimidated, but if they steal
Exactly.
anything, you just let them go. That's what you do.
I know, right?
Same thing. It's just
Why
counter
not just say
proliferation
it?
of like cyber terror and you know suicide bombers. That's all it is. That's all.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the people
honestly,
who mastermind massive terror attacks, right? It's just
that was her business.
yeah, no big deal. No deep state there.
Oh no, of course not.
Oh God.
What
Okay.
tangled
Sorry, I
webs?
did. I didn't mean to like.
That's okay. You're not
put a
alone,
pin in the
buddy.
balloon or anything, but
No, I'm getting an earful. Believe
when
me,
I
I'm
read
getting an
that,
earful
I
about
was
it.
like, what the hell?
What the hell? Honestly, I had the same reaction because
Wait
anybody
a minute,
who
wasn't it the CIA that did the thing back in Texas and the limousine and all the grassy knoll and all that? Wasn't there like a CIA thing in that? Just
Bobby
saying.
says, right? So a lot of people are questioning the wisdom of this move. It's not good optics for a
Jeez.
guy who's out there criticizing the CIA to bring in a former CIA case officer to run the campaign, and also she just doesn't have any experience running presidential campaigns or political campaigns at all. Obviously, a lot of old Pauls, people who've been in politics a long time, are scratching their heads, going, "Why aren't you hiring, the best possible experienced campaign manager that you can get?" And Dennis Kucinich, this was his third presidential campaign. At least he had experience. So it's all. I'm getting such an earful this week, Rick. And something else happened this week, as we all know. 7 days ago today, you had the attack on Israel by Hamas, and then Israel
Seven. I
declares
said 11. I
war.
couldn't remember how many days. I'm
It
losing
seems
track
like
of time.
I know this has been the
It's
longest
just
week.
whatever.
It's been the
But
longest
my
week.
God. So then that has a big impact on him because of him taking a position, right?
Right. I mean, Dennis Kucinich has a long, long history of support for the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause. Unbending, unyielding support. And then Bobby declared his position on the issue a few months ago, as we remember, his unbending, unyielding support for the cause of Israel, Israel's right to exist in self-defense. So these two positions are diametrically opposed, obviously incompatible. And just as this issue divides our country, divides a lot of families, divides friendships, I think that our campaign has been no exception to that. And it seems to me that from Dennis's point of view, the principled stand to take is to leave under good terms. There's no hard feelings, but you can't ignore the timing of it and the fact that it happened so quickly this week with no notice. I mean, Dennis left effective immediately. There was no 2 weeks notice or anything like that.
Yeah.
In fact, it came as a surprise to the campaign press secretary when the New York Times called. Somebody leaked it to the New York Times. The Times called the press office, and the press secretary was caught off guard. She didn't even know. That's how sudden it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to speculate, but I think it's pretty obvious why, the main reason why Dennis had to leave the campaign. And it's unfortunate. I'm very sad to see him go.
Well, when he declared his independence, I thought that they had very strong messaging. They had clearly given it a lot of thought. I think they had everything lined up just right. The messaging was really good.
Absolutely.
It was very, yeah. They were on the right track, but now, just days later, everything just kind of runs off the rails again for a bit. But we'll see if he can put it all back on the tracks.
Well, this past week, you were talking about it on Maverick News tonight, what you've seen online, the response from a lot of Bobby's supporters. Obviously, I'm catching hell about it from all my friends who support the Palestinian cause. They're furious at Bobby for his stance on this one. And a lot of them were planning to go to Philadelphia on Monday to attend his big announcement. They were willing to overlook his position on Israel because they didn't see it as a deal breaker, right?
Yeah.
It's a big issue. It's important to some people. But we have so many big problems to solve right here in our own country, trying to prevent a third world war, from escalating further. And he's good on all those other issues. So a lot of voters were willing to overlook it until Hamas attacked Israel this week. And then all hell breaks loose in the Middle East. And suddenly it's the biggest story in the world. It's no longer a minor issue in the minds of voters. Now everybody's expected to pick a side, right? And so Bobby, he's staked his claim. He's picked his side. But I had people who were planning to go to his announcement in Philadelphia call me up Saturday and Sunday last weekend and say, I can't do it. I can't support this guy. I'm done. I'm canceling my plane ticket. I'm not going. And I'm sitting here as a volunteer recruiter going, but don't go. But I understand your reasons and I respect your point of view. I can only hope that maybe you'll return to the fold, but they probably won't unless Bobby changes his position.
Which other candidate is there out there that aligns with their point of view? I can't think of one off the top of my head. So
Cornel West.
Well, good luck with that.
He's pretty good on the Israel-Palestine issue, but he's the only one.
But
the only one.
I think even he kind of got spanked over on the Jimmy Dore show over this, didn't he?
He did.
So tell me again, which candidate is better?
I think they're just going to stay home. They're not going to vote.
Yeah, well, good luck with that too then, because, that ain't going to help you if that's what you think.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.